What's going on, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Columbus Wired postgame recap. I'm Andy Evans, and yeah, Al Davis once said it best. Just win, baby. Just win. And that's what the Buckeyes did today, albeit not quite what I think everybody had in mind as far as the W is concerned. Final score here in the Horseshoe, the 4th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are victorious over the now 5-3 Nebraska Cornhuskers, 21-17. Yes. I mean, it was a game. It was a game. Just diving into these stats right off the rip. Nebraska just barely was edged out total yards wise by the Buckeyes, 285 to 273. The Cornhuskers, however, a nice mix of run and pass. They were 152 yards through the air, 121 yards on the ground. Buckeyes, primarily a passing game today, and you'll hear Ryan Day, Quinshon Judkins, Will Howard all talked about in the post-game press conference how disappointed they were in the lack of the ability to run the ball. Of course, those are videos that you can catch here on the Columbus Wired YouTube channel, as well as Facebook and X account. And yes, the wind is blowing mightily, and you would think on a day like today where the wind was blowing and gusting as much as it was at times that they would try to run more, and really they did. Tried to run quite often, Ohio State. I didn't even tell you how many passing yards and rushing yards they had. You're probably thinking, what the hell are you doing, Andy? You're blabbering on like you always do, like a blithering idiot. Well, let me stop being a blithering idiot for a split second and tell you what those yards were. 221 through the air and 64, a season low, 64 rushing yards on the ground. You would have to go back to the Maryland game last year when they had 62. So this is their lowest total since the Maryland game last year. And they did not punch the ball in on the ground at all today. First game of the season without a rushing touchdown, and you'd have to go back to the Cotton Bowl as far as the last time that they did not score a rushing touchdown. Of course, that game they didn't score any touchdowns. But Will Howard, interesting game for Will Howard. First half, he was a perfect 9 of 9, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was turnover free. Second half, 4 of 7. Let me get this right for you. 4 of 7, 54 yards. Did have a third touchdown in the second half. However, he also had an interception. And you put everything together, Will Howard was 13 of 16 for 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had the pick. So he was still 81% complete today. However, the interception, you know, it was a bad pick once. I mean, any pick is bad, right? But sometimes, you know, there are balls thrown that you're kind of like, okay, I can understand why he threw that. You know, the defensive back was just in great position and made a play. In this regard, he just kind of airmailed Emeka Egbuka. They ran kind of an interesting. It was kind of like crossing routes. He had Emeka Egbuka kind of in the slot going out on a little corner route, and he just airmailed it. Will Howard just airmailed it. So otherwise, not a bad game from Will. Quinshon and Travion, 10 carries apiece. Quinshon leads the team with 29 yards rushing. Travion had 25 yards on the ground, and Will Howard 8 carries for 14 yards today to give them the 64 total rushing yards, and they ran the ball 31 times for an average of 2.1 yards per carry today. So once again, Ryan Day, Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, I mean, they all just said, look, you know, we can't run the ball like that and expect to win. Expect to win. In fact, Will Howard called this win, you know, quite simply a win that they just not happy with. Just not happy with this kind of win. And I'm sure a lot of people in Buckeye Nation aren't happy either, especially seeing the way that Nebraska got absolutely trounced by Indiana. And then Nebraska comes in here. And quite frankly, folks, I mean, I felt that Ohio State looked flat. They looked uninspired. They were not playing with an edge. Cody Simon said after the game, Cody Simon had one hell of a game. We're going to talk defensive stats here in a second. Cody Simon said after the game he felt the defense was playing with an edge, and that is probably true. They gave up three field goals, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion to give Nebraska their 17 points. But Cody Simon said, hey, he felt like the defense played with an edge, and I do agree. And the defense today did end up getting an interception, and they also had 3 sacks for a total of 21 yards, 13 tackles for loss for 39 TFL yards in this game. The defense definitely, especially the fact that Nebraska had the ball for almost 10 more minutes today than the Buckeyes did. 35:07 compared to OSU's 24:53 time of possession. So the fact that Nebraska had the football for over 35 minutes in this game and the defense was on the field for as long as they were, the fact that the defense only gave up 1 touchdown and 17 points, still came up with a turnover, 3 sacks, and 13 tackles for loss. Yeah, the defense was playing with an edge. Offense, obviously, just looked flat, uninspired, like they were just going through the motions, and quite frankly, maybe looking ahead towards Penn State or just who knows what else it could be. But this offense today definitely did not deliver. So we'll see how they do against the Nittany Lions come next week. But let's talk about some good things. Obviously, the defenses, those stats, very good things, right? True freshman quarterback for the Cornhuskers, Dylan Raiola, goes 21 of 32 for 152 yards, no touchdowns. The 1 interception at the very end of the game, which I did not mention, Jordan Hancock coming up with that interception that came on the final drive of the game for the Cornhuskers, and it was 3rd and long for them, and Dylan Raiola just made a freshman mistake, threw it over the middle, and there was a guy there, but it wasn't a dude on his team. It was Jordan Hancock, who, of course, plays cornerback for the Buckeyes. He picked it off, and that sealed the win with 1 minute and 16 seconds left to go. So definitely a very good thing in that regard. Individually speaking, Cody Simon, once again, just was a beast today, especially on that last drive. He had a couple of huge tackles. All total said and done, 8 tackles on the day, 4 of them solo, 3 of them were for loss. Denzel Burke had 6 tackles, including 2 for loss. Caleb Downs, 5 tackles, 4 solo, 1 for loss. Jordan Hancock, the 5 tackles, the 1 interception, and he had a forced fumble that unfortunately was not recovered. So definitely some good stats today. Oh, Ty Hamilton, yeah, I can't leave him out. And JT Tuimoloau. Both of those guys, each with 5 tackles, including Tuimoloau had 2 tackles for loss, including a sack. And Ty Hamilton, his 1 tackle for loss was good for a sack. And then the other guy with a sack today, Tyleik Williams, 4 tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack. So defensively, they got it done. And this is the kind of game, fact that Ty Hamilton and Cody Simon, both were asked, is this the kind of game when it gets deep like this? They've now, let's face it, had 2 games in a row where one game offensively, they were deep in the game and had to make it happen, and they didn't. Today, they're deep in the game. They had to make it happen defensively, and they did. And they said, is this the kind of game that can show the resolve of this team and be able to kind of get deep into a game and lock it down when need be? And we found out, at least today, against an average Nebraska team, they're able to lock it down and get it done. Offensively, against an average Oregon defense, better than average Oregon defense, I would say, better than average. a good Oregon defense. Unfortunately, Ohio State's offense wasn't able to get it done. So even though offensively they looked good against Oregon and defensively they looked bad, I mean, it was a complete turnaround game today. The defense came out and played inspired. The defense played with an edge, whereas against Oregon they didn't. And vice versa against Oregon, where the offense played pretty damn good against the Ducks and just came out flatter than ever against the Cornhuskers today. So, but a win is a win is a win. So there you have it, folks. I'm Andy Evans. Thanks for hanging out with me on the Columbus Wired post-game recap. And until, well, we're not going to be hanging out for the Penn State game, but we will be podcasting come tomorrow morning. And, of course, another Wednesday at the Woody to preview the big, huge matchup in Happy Valley as the Buckeyes take on the, as of right now, undefeated Penn State Nittany Lions in State College. So, going to be looking forward to that Wednesday. Try to hopefully get some good player interviews going on, but we shall see. Until then, everybody take care. Have a good rest of the weekend. Go Bucks.